Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today's guest is Elias Spates-Marquis, the president of the Newport chapter of the Rotary Club. She's here to talk about all that the Rotary does, not only for this community, but for our country. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Did I get your name right?
You did. Good job.
Right. So you're here. You are currently the president of the Newport chapter of the Rotary?
Correct. Yep, 1-year term. So I have the 2017 and 2018 year. I'm following up Terry McQuillan,
right.
And will be followed by Bob Courier.
Right. I know you're not the first Rotary person to be on here. I believe Roger Carty has been on a couple times, and I believe at least one other person. But
Yep, Roger's a very active member in our club. We have a bundle of very active members.
Right.
So,
you know, we were talking beforehand. There was a day where there was a lot of active clubs in Newport. Like I had on just recently Marvin and Carol Needleman, and they started listing off. There's clubs that I never even heard of, but I know there's different organizations today, but Rotary seems to have survived when so many others haven't, or they don't ever get past the talking phase. How come Rotary has survived?
Rotary is certainly a tried and true club. The motto of Rotary is service above self. So certainly if you're a member, then that has to be something that you are very passionate about, is helping others, whether it's in our immediate local community or whether it's at the national level. Because Rotary is a club that is international. So there are thousands and thousands and thousands of Rotary clubs worldwide. If I miss a meeting because I'm away and I'm in another town, state, country, then a lot of Rotarians will take it upon themselves to go to somebody else's meeting, which is really exciting to go and see all of the work that they do in other places.
Right.
So Rotary is an easy club to become a member of. It's an easy club to become a member of if you are passionate about helping others.
Right. I know a friend of mine I believe he's a former president. He now lives in Lake Havasu, Arizona, Gary Kellogg.
Okay, yep,
Right.
Absolutely.
And,
Gary's a name that we hear a lot in our club still.
Right. When I visit him in Arizona, he talks about the Rotary there. So he's stuck with it, so I think wherever he's lived throughout his professional career, he's always found a Rotary club.
We always have our summer Rotarians. Our snowbirds that come and go. Nancy Hill is a regular member that we see. Last week was her last week. We see her every summer like clockwork. Bob Blow is a member that has come back year after year. This was his first year we hadn't seen him, but you form a real bond with them. We got a note instead saying that he wasn't coming home this year, however, still thinking of us, but shared with us what his Rotary Club was doing. It's nice to be able to find those Rotary clubs out there and know that you can sort of pick up where you left off at home to still be able to serve someone in some fashion. We had somebody pick up at all times. They found us this year at our changeover. So that's when we change locations. We go to the east side. That's where we had it this year, and that's when the new president takes over. And I'll be darned if he didn't come. He found us, realized that we were a very active club, and he's been with us all summer long. He hasn't missed a meeting all summer long, and has now made a really nice donation to one of our passions in our club, which is the youth.
Right.
So the youth is one of our huge areas of interest, and he absolutely came right in and decided that we could sort of guide him in how to make a nice donation to the area. So now we have a little more extra money in our coffers to be able to give back to the youth in our area.
Right. I think I've been a guest speaker at your Rotary at least once, maybe twice. Al Flory. I don't know if you knew Al.
I did know Al Flory.
Al,
yep.
He invited me, and then I've been a guest speaker at the St. Johnsbury Rotary
Yep.
as well. Actually, I've been asked numerous times to join, and I'm very honest about why I don't.
Sure.
Is if I can't join something and do it 100%, I would rather help you in this capacity here. 'Cause I volunteer, all my shows are voluntary.
Yep.
But for me to actually go every week to a meeting, I'd be doing the club a disservice.
Well, I have a way to answer that, Scott, if you want to renegotiate that. Okay, so it used to be when you joined Rotary that there was an expectation
Right.
of attendance. So during my rev up here to the presidency, when I go to my training sessions, that has now at the international level sort of become null and void. Obviously, attendance at some point is needed. However, the thing that we don't want to do is we don't want to get rid of somebody that really wants to participate in our programs, in our activities, because they didn't make X amount of lunch meetings. All of a sudden, I think Rotary International has decided we're doing a disservice to the people that have the ability to really bring great service. And I don't think he would be offended by me throwing out his name, but a perfect example is Don Whipple.
Right.
This is obviously Don's really busy season.
Right.
Once school is back into session, then poor Don is, I think, probably 4 in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. He is working on either being at the schools and taking photos or editing photos or traveling to all of the zillions of schools that he goes to. Don has, call it what you want, terrible attendance right now.
Right.
However, the service that Don brings in other avenues is absolutely astronomical. Don probably brings some of the greatest service of any Rotarian that we have.
Right. And I think that's a really positive step, because I think what happens is it's harder for those of us self-employed,
Absolutely.
like Don and I, for us to go to meetings, that's actually missing. That's a chunk out of our paycheck.
It's taking a chunk out of your livelihood.
Right, but
sure.
if you work for let's say the hospital or banks, or like some of those, or if you work for a bigger organization, yeah, you can go, but you're being paid.
Sure.
But for like Don and I, who I have great respect for, because we both really got our start at the Chronicle.
Yep.
I don't know if you realize that Don kind of got his start there, and as I did. So I think that's a huge step forward for you, because it really, I think, prevented those of us self-employed people from just making that leap.
There's no question about it. And I think Rotary International has finally said we can't cut off, that segment of the population. To cut Don out because he didn't make the attendance quota would have been the worst thing for our club. Don is hands down one of the most active members of our club. If you need something done, Don is absolutely going to step up to the plate if he has the ability to do it.
Right.
Right now, Don and myself and Michelle Tarek, and then a bundle from the junior high have worked really hard to write a grant. So the grant comes in part from our club, and the grant comes in part from Rotary International. So we wrote the grant asking for $4,000 from Rotary International and $4,000 from our club to give makerspace at the junior high.
Do what?
Makerspace. So a lot of people don't know what makerspace is. I'll tell you, that's a great segment to have, because there are very few people around that know what makerspace is. Makerspace is an area in which children can be or go to be able to just create outside of the box without a teacher saying, this is what you have to do and this is how you do it. You give them all of these tools and pieces and parts, and it's almost always electronically driven. It's things from makey-makeys and Arduino boards and Raspberry Pis, things that until my daughter brought this language to me, I had no idea what we were talking about. But they get together and they've built computers. They've built just all kinds of hands-on things for them to think outside of the box. without manuals, without instructions, for them to be able to get into this space and get their hands on. So we're working with Nicole Corbett and Matt McFarland, Hillary Potter and Ted Chitomber up at the junior high, to get $8,000 to them to help them put tools into this makerspace. So I think at some point Matt's plan is that this is going to be an elective in the school, so that the child that doesn't think on paper and, writing things and maybe think the way is the norm, the child that's thinking outside of that area can still say, hey, look, I have a lot to offer here. I just offer it in a different way.
Exactly.
So we were first exposed by Betsy Calhoun, who the Rotary has supported, Tech Savvy for Girls Camp. We've supported this over and over again. This year it was taken over by the North Country Career Center. They supported it this year. And it just brought girls only into an environment that is frequently male-driven. They brought them in there so that they can start to learn in this world of computers and technology.
My daughter went through Betsy's program.
It's
And
such a great program.
Even though she has her 4-year teaching degree, she's actually a quasi stay-at-home mother instead because of her husband's work. But she works for me from home, and it's all she knows more about technology than I ever thought about, and a lot of it she picked up through Betsy's program, and it wasn't what she learned in college.
Absolutely.
And
my daughter she's a freshman at the high school. My second daughter is a 8th grader at the junior high, and the oldest is just driven to be an engineer. That child was born, and you knew instantly that she just thought a little bit different than the average kid, and it's that she has a very mathematical and scientific mind. But when she ever got into Betsy's program, that's what made me finally realize, that's what makes her tick. It's really exciting to watch a child put stuff together and build stuff, and she's really been taught that it's okay to screw it up. It's okay. And Dawn Whipple is the one, honestly, that we connected with when we decided to invest in a 3D printer. Actually, she invested in it herself, but when it came, it didn't work properly. Very frustrating. The same thing happened to Dawn's daughter, Sid Whipple, and Sydney took it upon herself, I think a lot driven by Dawn, to call the company and say, look, we have this problem. And versus sending it back and asking for another one, they worked through what the problem was. Sydney figured out with the company that their instructions were backward. Every one that they put out was going in backward. Sid figured it out. Sid got it fixed on her end. And you have to know that the company is eternally grateful because everything they're putting out now, it's now going out in the correct fashion. McKenna got one a few years later. There was a small hiccup, and honestly, it came down to a packaging issue. When it was packaged, there were all kinds of issues with what it was packaged with that caused it to have a little friction when it came. And between Dawn and McKenna, they called, because I don't have enough patience to call. They called together and they got this completely revamped.
When I was in legislature, when us old people had a technological problem with our computers, or when we were setting up some of our technology, and
Sure.
if the IT people were busy,
That was it. You waited.
No, we'd grab an 8th grade page, and it was all second nature. They'd
Right.
just come right over and plug this, plug that.
And without them,
And-
then we were waiting for
Yeah,
IT to be available
because
to us.
with the kids growing up now, they're almost like coming out of the womb,
Right.
with it built hardwired into them, and they
Or there's the segment of children that think that everything should work properly, and they don't know enough to take it apart. Betsy's camp has absolutely shown my children it's okay to take it apart, rip it apart, figure out what is wrong, and make it right. It's been the Rotary's support for the Tech Savvy Girls Camp has been incredible. That's what's taken a new life of its own at the junior high now to get them makerspace, so that all of the children, not just girls,
Right.
boys also, are absolutely able to have that kind of space available to them. So,
Yeah, I think that's a great idea because I'm a Pied Piper of the youth because as I tell people, if I can succeed here, anybody can. Absolutely anybody can. You just have to find your niche. You need to have education allow you to be a bit different, because not, I understand the role of education is kind of tough if you're not going to do cookie cutter
right.
education. And there are so many success stories coming out of this area. There's been, and I don't know, we have a habit of focusing on all the negative.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many success stories. And I think that's a step in the right direction because I just think people seem to get the idea that you cannot grow up here and make a living here. It might not be easy, but you can do it if you want to stay
doable.
here.
It's certainly doable, and certainly our 50 strong members at Rotary are absolutely proof that we certainly can stay here and make a living. Rotary is here to also now help support those that are struggling in their living. We're here to help support all of the great ideas that are coming at us that we know if we get behind, it just gives a little more to substantiate what they want to do.
Right. Right. Hey, just one little tidbit about my speaking engagement at the Rotary. I did confess something to your mother.
Okay.
Your mother was my music teacher.
Sure.
And she did not go back and change my grade. I said, I not once I lip synced. Even as early elementary school, I understood I was not made for singing.
That's
And
funny.
I told your mother out in front of everybody, I said, first of all, I want to start by giving my old apology for confessing one of my sins to my former music teachers, Vivian Spates. I said, I never sang a word. I said, I was just good at lip syncing.
That's
And she
funny.
got a good laugh out of it.
Well, we're lucky to have her every Tuesday at our club playing for us so that we can sing, have a little music to start the day.
Right.
There are plenty of lip syncers in our club, and clearly there's a couple that don't lip sync either.
And I thought
we're a fun group. It's a fun way to start our meeting.
Yeah. So what are some of your common events or events you've recently had?
So we just had the Lincoln Driven to Give. It's sponsored here locally by Hayes Ford. However, all of the money comes from the national level. So anybody that came to drive a Lincoln, this time it's a Lincoln, in the past it's been a Ford, anybody that came to drive a Lincoln, we were given $20 from Lincoln and Ford at the national level. So it is no strings attached. Nobody had to listen to a sales pitch. Frankly, they don't even get in a car with a salesperson. They got in a car with a Rotarian. We take a 5-8 minute drive, something like that, and then they can have hot dogs and donuts, and they fill out a little pamphlet. They are never ever contacted after the fact by anybody from Ford or Lincoln, and it's just a way for the Ford Motor Company to be able to give back to their communities. So this time it was all Lincoln driven. So we'll take that money, and obviously we're hoping, we don't have the tallies yet, but we're hoping that the money will come in around $8,000 just to be able to dump into our community. It goes into our coffers, and some of the things that we'll do with the money. So one of the founder of this event for our club is Jude Smith. Jude is a veteran, and so a piece of that money almost always goes to our veteran committee. Jude's the chair of our veteran committee, and so we sponsor meals for veterans. We've done oil for veterans in the winter time. So we have a nice strong committee that works on the veterans. Or works with the veterans, and then a piece of that money will go into any one of our other donating areas. So we have things like the youth. The youth is one of, as the president, you get to sort of say what your focus is, and my focus is the youth in our community. So all of our surrounding community and their events, and supporting the youth. So we give about $6,000 just in general donations, so that could be almost anything. We have done things like, we always have a Warm the Children event every year where we attend to 4 or 5 schools, and we donate back about $3,500 in warm weather clothing. You'll see, if you're working in the school system, you'll probably get a letter soon, because that clothing will go out at some point, hopefully by Halloween, at the very latest, the first week of November. We feel pretty strongly on that committee that that warmth should not be a Christmas gift. So it doesn't come at Christmas time. It comes in Vermont when you need warm weather clothing, which in the last few days has been now. So we want to get those articles of clothing out to children as soon as possible. Other ways that our money will be used from this particular event will be, in the past, we've used it for the Chamber of Commerce. They have a beautiful deck off the back that we helped put up, and you can see tons of business names on the back of it that helped sponsor that. We've done things at the bandstand. It's endless.
Right.
It's endless.
You mentioned the chamber. How does a chamber and the Rotary differ? What are the differences between the two?
I honestly can't speak a ton to the chamber because I'm not super familiar with how their program works internally. But the chamber certainly is business oriented. We are also business oriented. Our members are made up typically of community members that are members of businesses. I have to say that I know that's the origination of how Rotary was founded. However, it is not maintained quite as strongly as the way it started.
Right, evolution. Yeah.
Absolutely, and evolution certainly has played a part in this one, that you don't necessarily have to have a strong business tie any longer. We have people that are just good members of the community that are retired.
Lindy Palin.
Lindy Palin is a great one.
96 years old, and I could only hope to look like him. Well, even when he looks better than me when I was 16. You're a woman, isn't he dashing?
He is, absolutely.
He's truly a class act.
He is. Lindy is just genuine and kind. Lindy is a great member. He's a great member. It's the rare occasion. I feel like only Lindy's social calendar gets in the way of a Rotary meeting. And that is because he has a nice large family that absolutely comes and sees him. And I know we're anxious to see him back at our next meeting. He's missed a couple, but that's because his social calendar has been very busy. I hope my social calendar is half as busy at 96 as his is now. So Lindy's a great member. Lindy's a great member.
So what else do you have coming up?
So one of our largest fundraisers, we have 2 that are really our sort of our tagline kind of fundraisers, and that's the Duck Regatta and the basketball tournament. So the basketball tournament takes place in the spring. It's usually over the February school break, so the end of February, beginning of March. We have an incredible committee that really knocks their socks off to make that one a great way to not only raise money for us, however, that one gets all of our youth ready to play basketball. So all of them get a chance to come in and play. All they have to do, and I think in the past year we've extended it to the 5th, 6th grade level, right up through the junior high. So it's really a middle school basketball tournament. What I think is the most notable as a parent that's done a lot of traveling sports with children is that our teams that play for this pay nothing. When you go to a tournament as part of an AAU team, a traveling softball team, any of those things, you can pay upwards of $500 just to get your team into the tournament. This one is nothing. It costs these teams nothing to be able to come and play. So for school teams that may not get a chance to go to big tournaments, but those kids really have a desire to play in the big tournaments that are so much fun, this gives them a chance to come and have a great big long tournament and play. The way that we make money off from the tournament is just by the entry fee and by our food stand. So I think it's $3 maybe for adults to get in. So it's a great way to be able to have the money come from the people coming to watch, but no matter what, those kids get to play. No money needed for those kids to play. So that's a huge fundraiser. But the next fundraiser coming up will be the Duck Regatta. So we spend, hopefully you have seen some Rotarians somewhere selling either a business duck to you for $100 or they're selling Little Duck tickets. So Little Duck tickets are three for $10, and then you get your name on a ticket, get stuffed in a little duck, and they all float down the river. So we drop them. Dureshi's Crane Service comes in, and it's amazing to watch. So it'll be on Sunday the 24th. Race time is at 2 o'clock, and the first thing that the crane will drop in are all of our business ducks, and the goal is to have at least 100 business ducks, and those are the decoy ducks. So we set the decoy ducks in the water, and they race down to the footbridge that goes over. I suppose it's a car bridge too, that goes over to Gardner Park. So it's going to race. It's not very far. You hope for a windy day that really pushes them down the river. And so that's the first race. And then the second race is hoping to have thousands of little ducks, which is really entertaining to see. And then they make the race also. So the top prize for the little duck is $1,000, and second is $500, $300, $200, and $100. But most importantly, all of the money that we raise is going back into our community, into all that we support. So if you've seen the scoreboards over at the high school, the Rotary Club put those up. There is an endless amount of ways for us to do it. We have supported the hospital initiative of palliative care. That's one of our big sponsors is over there. Another one is the rec center. So up at Siskin Coots this year, they've built a great big fabulous place for the kids to finally have another place since IROC has gone, to be able to have the kids come inside and play. And they have a rock wall, and they have basketball hoops, and you name it. They've got a great place for the kids to play. And we have donated over a 3-year period. We've made a $6,000 donation. Sort of toward the basketball hoops is kind of what our feeling was, kind of coming from our basketball fundraiser. Our money just continues to go into the community. So we hope if you see a Rotarian out there that if they're not tracking you down, we hope you're tracking them down to make sure that you get a chance at this too.
Right. We're almost done here, only a few more minutes, just like 5 more minutes. There's a lot going on here. We had Walmart come. We have Newport trying to pick itself up. Are you involved with is the Rotary involved with any of those issues?
Absolutely. The Rotary does what we can to support, to make sure we're supporting sort of the comeback of Newport here. And sometimes it's done in smaller ways, and sometimes it's done in larger ways. One of our more recent ways of helping to just support some of the vibrancy in the Newport area was Wednesdays on the waterfront.
Best thing Newport has done in a long time.
Absolutely. So hats off to Vero, and hats off to Andrea for coming up with this great brainstorm. This was just an idea that they had over a meal together, and those girls ran with it.
And that's what you need. That's what you need to do, because some groups actually, and I'm not saying the Rotary, some groups you go to meetings and they just talk, but they never do. And sometimes you need people like these 2 women who just got an idea.
So these and neither one is a Rotarian. These ladies had dinner together, came up with this idea. They are both incredibly savvy women that are successful in the Newport area. Andrea is a teacher at the Career Center. Vero runs the Belvedere. And so over this dinner, they decided that, unfortunately, with the Jazz Fest not coming back this year, that they needed to get some music to the area. And what a way to liven it up. And certainly that waterfront right in front of the Belvedere is the perfect spot. So,
and they have managed to control the weather perfectly.
Yeah, they sure did. I think both of those girls should be buying some Megabucks tickets for sure. 6 weeks running.
They
absolutely
nailed every Wednesday.
Yep, I was there at every single one, and every single Wednesday was rain-free. So they came to us, certainly asking for a sponsor, and what better way for us to invest back in our community. So absolutely, the Rotary was a sponsor for them, but they went out and got other big sponsors. You know, certainly J Peak and Spates Family LLC, and you name it. They really hit upon everybody that really has some serious. They're invested in our community. They want good things for our community. So they absolutely have really knocked this one out of the park. So that's one way that the Rotary has, you know, we are committed to those kind of events happening. When Halloween comes around, last year when Halloween came around, we certainly support everything that the town does to put on a fun Halloween bash for the kids. So there's small ways like that. Certainly we are coming up on a big celebration of Newport. So the Rotary is sitting on the committee to be a part of the 2018 celebration of the city of Newport. So we have a nice committee there that's putting forth all that we can to help out with that event. We do all that we can. We do all that we can, and we have some members that are really passionate about making sure that Newport thrives.
Right. I've been the eternal optimist for the future of Newport. Some people have told me I'm crazy, but I think if we move forward and look at its history in perspective and not the mythical history, and realize that Newport has always went through its ebbs and tides. It's always has been evolving, and we're just evolving into the next chapter, and it's not going to look like the previous chapter.
Nope, I think it's not going to look like the previous chapter.
And I even see Newport of today as, yeah, there's businesses struggling, or there's some empty storefronts, but there are bright spots.
I would agree.
And I always mention it at nauseum. I don't know if I might have to move to Thailand if the Thai restaurant ever goes out of business. I just think it's absolutely great, but we do have several eateries downtown.
We have some great eateries downtown. I think certainly, you know, the Belvedere, again, is one of those eateries that absolutely has. There are not many people that have the niche that they have, which is a view that is, you know, that is just picture perfect all the time. To be able to go down there, to have the delightful wait staff that they have, the menu that is constantly changing and yummy. We have great establishments here. If we continue to support our establishment, it makes all the difference in the world. If we are a positive community, if we continue to support our own, that whole shop local phrase is a big deal for Newport. People living in Newport need to continue to shop local. So we continue to support them.
And I think we also, and I think Newport needs to do this as Derby does, as we need to think regional too, because Derby is now largely, it's turning into the retail center. But on the other hand, although Derby has lakefront, it's not, you know, it's not a place where people can really enjoy it other than on the bike path. Derby has the land base. Newport has the waterfront. And then Coventry has beautiful amphitheaters where you could hold music festivals, maybe not quite as big as Fish, but you know, if we think because there's a lot of little fiefdoms around too amongst some towns, and I think if people work together, and I think for the most part people have gotten better at that. I think I still think Newport is going to pull through this.
I think we will. I think without question, I think if we remain positive and continue to support each other, I think absolutely we will continue to pull through this. It's maybe thinking out of the box on this one.
Right.
But Rotary, Newport has Rotary's support all the way.
Okay, if somebody wants to learn more about Rotary,
sure.
What do they have to do?
They can go to newportvtrotary.org, and that's our website. So we have a website. They can get on and see anything that we're doing at any time. We have a Facebook page so that they can get on to, we're the Rotary Club of Newport, Vermont. So they absolutely can get onto the Facebook page. really all they have to do right now is look around town. And if you see a giant blue sign says want to win $1,000, that's getting you in touch with how to buy some duck tickets. So any one of the Rotarians will tell you how to find out what's coming up with Rotary.
Okay. All right. Thank you for coming on the show. We'll have to have you back on because I could think of a million topics.
Sounds good.
Because I think we're on the same page for many things, and I think you are headed in the right direction, or your organization, because you probably don't take all the credit.
I'm certainly not going to take all the credit for Rotary. We have some really great members.
Okay.
So, thanks so much.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks.
And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.